Praline paste, yeah, that's what we're making today. I think I said this in the last video, but it's been a while and I haven't put up a video in a while, but thanks for coming back and watching. Good to see you again. So today I've made two different kinds of praline paste. First time I've ever made them, so a few things that I've learned along the way, but in basic simple terms, praline paste is you make a kind of nut brittle by just putting nuts into caramel, and then you whiz that up in a food processor and it turns into a paste, rather like any kind of nut butter that you've got. So I've made two today. I've made a hazelnut praline paste, that's kind of a bit more of a classic thing, and I've also made a peanut praline paste, which is kind of just like really nice sweet peanut butter. It's all pretty tasty, and I'll just run you through quickly how to make them. So first thing that you do is you get your sugar and your water into a pan. You bring it over a high heat, stirring all the time until that sugar is dissolved. At this point you can actually do two different things, and this is what I did. One way you can do it is you can add in your nuts just as soon as the sugar is dissolved and the caramel starts to boil. It's still going to be blonde at this point. If you put in your nuts here, then what you're actually looking to do is to crystallize the sugar. Now often people are scared of caramel. It's like the biggest fear is that you're going to crystallize the sugar. Fear not in this one. All that you do is you keep stirring all the way. The sugar around the outside of the nuts will eventually melt again and turn into a nice deep caramel color. That's what I did for the hazelnut one, and it works pretty well. Also, I would say, if you take out the nuts at the point when they're crystallized and covered in that lovely sugar, it's actually really delicious. So sometimes, you know, making a bad caramel turns out quite well. Anywho, once you have got the nuts completely coated in that deep caramel color, just turn them out onto a lined baking tin and let that cool. For the peanut brittle, what I did was a slightly different method. Once again, I got my sugar and water onto boil, stirring all the time till all the sugar was dissolved. Then this time, I let that caramel come to a lovely deep dark caramel color. Just before the point that you think that looks ready, you throw in all of your nuts at once, give it a quick stir, and just straight away pour it out onto a tray to sit and cool once they're all coated in that lovely caramel. So with both of these, then you've got the exact same process to turn it into a praline paste. So to turn these brittles into a praline paste, all that you do is you let it cool, knock up the nuts a wee bit to break them up and separate them, and then you just shove them in a food processor for about 5 minutes. Whiz them, whiz them, whiz them, whiz them. They'll get to a point of being in a kind of powdery form. Whiz beyond that point. It's just the same as if you're making a nut butter. The more you whiz it, the looser it's going to get and the smoother it's going to be. Once you're happy with the consistency and the texture, that's you done. Stop mixing and you've got praline paste. It really is that simple. I've somewhat rambled on there about how to make it, but you can see it's really simple. Don't be worried about it, don't be scared. Making a caramel is not hard. Once you've dissolved all that sugar, leave a spoon out of it until it's ready to go, and it'll all be absolutely fine. And also, like I've shown you, if it does crystallize, that's absolutely fine. That's a proper technique that people use to make a brittle or a praline. So coming on to a few things that I've learned from doing this. As you can see, there's quite a big difference in the texture of both of these pastes. We've got the hazelnut one here and the peanut one here. The peanut is so thick and rather like just your regular sort of peanut butter that you get in a jar. So good. And the hazelnut one is far looser, you can see that. Partly that's down to me processing this one a bit more. The longer you process it, the thinner it's going to get. Also, when you do a nut butter with peanuts, it's going to be thicker than with hazelnuts. A few points of learning though that we can take from this. This is the first time that I've made these, and I would say definitely use the method that I used for the peanut praline rather than the hazelnut one, and that is making your caramel and taking it to the full caramel stage before adding your nuts in. Once the hazelnuts got that crystallized texture around the outside, it just became a bit of effort to get that arm beating that and moving it around and making sure it all caramelized evenly. If you do it the way that I did it with the peanuts, absolutely it's going to be a consistent caramel color. You coat the nuts in that and really easy, nice and simple. So I definitely go for that one. Another thing is when you're then making your paste, reserve some of that brittle on the side. It is so good. So don't blend it all up and make the paste. Keep some wee bits on the side that you can decorate whatever you're making with, or just have as a wee movie snack for yourself. Another point to make is that I used salted roasted peanuts for this one. Why? Because we had them in the house. They're pretty cheap. I love them myself, and it turns out so well. The wee bit of salt really works well against the caramel. That sort of salty sweet thing that everyone loves. Really good, so I'd recommend that. If not, use just regular roasted nuts, and I would put a wee bit of sea salt on the top, sprinkle it through, because it works really well. With the hazelnuts, I bought just regular hazelnuts, and I tried to rub off as much of the skins as I could, but as you can see, there's rather a lot of the husk still in there, which I suppose you could say adds a bit of a textural difference, a bit of interest in there, but really I'd rather like it to be a bit smoother. So if you're going to do the hazelnut one, I would change it up and use blanched hazelnuts without any of the husks, or give a better job of trying to take them off, because it just adds a slightly grainy, slightly gritty texture to it. That's pretty much it when it comes to this two-step process. It's really simple. I would say definitely give it a shot, give it a crack. If you like peanut butter, if you like hazelnut butter, almond butter, do it with any kind of nut that you like. If you like that and you like caramel, stick it together and it is going to taste incredible. Thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll maybe see you fairly soon. No promises there, but yeah, have a good day.